Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We appreciate you tuning us in as we have Dick Landon in. We are going to be getting into astral travel, consciousness, maybe some aliens. It's going to be a great show indeed. Little Timmy James is in studio for the UFO report. And best of all about tonight, we have each and every one of you. Kitty Caddywhack in the gold medal position. Eternity Eternal with a silver. Race fan with a disappointing bronze medal tonight. Where are you, race fan? What's going on there? Robert Lamoth, how you doing? David Norenberg, thanks for coming on in as we continue on with our roll call. And who's next on our list here? Let's see here. Little Cam on YouTube bench pressed 440 pounds 76 times in 8 minutes. He was moving. Believe you me, he was moving. Necessary Dialogue, how you doing? Good to see you here. Mel WD-40 is here lubing us up for tonight's show because you always want to go into a show nice and smooth. You don't want any of that ugly rigidness, and Mel takes care of us. He really does. I'm lubed up as we speak. Moving on down, Frankie B. Desert Rat has returned. Look at that. Desert Rat will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. Eternity Eternal, Stephanie Kenny Blankenship, and Derek the Whoopoo. How you doing? Yes, I know my Oilers got their asses handed to them tonight. It's only game 3, people. Lots of series left. Lots of series left. I'm not even worried. Paramarv, how you doing, my friend? Good to see you as we continue on with our roll call. In the chat room, there's little Timmy James. How you doing, buddy? Good, thank you. Laura Lobbs, nice to see you. And who's next on our list? It's Carol Amerio. How are you tonight? Scrolling on down, we say hello next to Walter Kochabinski. Good to have you here. Thomas Rock, how you doing? Candy is here. Candy will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind, to the right of the studio. Tyler 420, Rock and Rory. Cosmic Joe, how are you, my friend? Undead Jed, thanks for coming on in. Number 21 in your program tonight, starting at center ice from Stockholm, Sweden, Lars Jansson. D. Cohen, DC from DC. Look at that. D. Cohen, DC from DC. See what I did there? That was amazing. All right, Plant Watering Citizen, how are you? Amanda, thanks for coming on in. And Alien Critter, good to have you here. And let's scroll on down. There's the lovely and talented Kimberly Burgess. How are you, sweetheart? Operation Shutdown. Amy WC, looking gorgeous tonight. In the studio, how are you? Good to have you here. Jerence Carter. No, Dave didn't lose the beard. Why would you say such a thing? Al Garay over on Twitch. He astral traveled to the leg press machine where he lifted 700 pounds 23 times in 4 minutes. I don't know how you did it. That's a lot of water, man, because you're going to lose a lot of weight in that push. Gary Rusin, how's it going, my friend? Fast Hemi, how are you, my man? Pam Harris, thanks for coming on in. Jeff Steve Garvey is here. He'll hit a home run for you. Phil the Stalker, thank you for joining us. Hi, Hippie Deidre. How's the Birkenstocks? Let us know. Scrolling on down, let us say hello to Digger Dog. What's happening, my man? I'm Hardcore over on X. And let's see here. Bobbert, how you doing, man? As we continue on, where are we here? Let's go down. We're still there. Pam Harris, thank you for kicking off this Super Chat tonight. The Super Chat is a wonderful, wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. So thank you for your love. Appreciate it. Let's get the radio side going. Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Dick Landon is our guest tonight. We're going to be getting into astral projection, astral travel, consciousness, maybe some aliens. We are in YouTube roll call right now, so just be patient because we are shortly going to start this show, and we say hello next to the Goblin. How you doing? Good to see you. And who's next on our list? Oh, scrolling on down. Paul Demon, good to have you here. J Truth Seeker, thanks for coming on in. Valerie Peters, nice to see you. And Skip to Malou, good morning to you. And we are caught up. Okay, everybody, do me a favor. Throw those horns up. Let's rock.
Are you ready to hear your mystic voice of the night?
It's time to wake up.
He's here. Shush. Be quiet. He's ready for you to listen. Let's point our ears towards the little cabin in the woods, where together, my friends, we own the night. It's time for Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott.
From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott. Sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters, we welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We're heading into the astral realm tonight. Dick Landon is going to join us. He's an award-winning author and researcher. We're going to find out what it's like to project ourselves all over the universe. Then in hour number 3, Swamp Dweller will kick things off. Then Little Timmy James in studio will have the UFO report. We might update you on Flight 21 as well, because we had some weird things happening. By the way, we have put up video number 2 of our Flight 21 research investigation. I'm so not used to being called a researcher, but I guess we're officially researchers now. Amateur researchers at that, though. Let me say amateur researchers. All right. If you go down on our YouTube channel, you find the playlist for Flight 21. It is right there. It's called The Black Shadow. What do you think that means, people? This is from a couple of weeks ago. Tim got it up, and he's going to be putting out number 3 here, hopefully in the next week. Yeah. Tim and I decided to take a break for a week. We'll fill you in hour 3. How about that? Dick Landon is an award-winning science fiction writer and consciousness explorer. He also grows a fantastic beard. And you know how we like our beards around here, and it's a good one. I know on radio you won't be able to see it, but you're going to have to trust me. It's a 10 out of 10. All right. He helps bridge the worlds of technology and metaphysics. Born and raised in upstate New York, Dick earned his Bachelor's of Science in Mechanical Engineering from the University of California, Santa Barbara, before building a diverse career spanning the aircraft and software patent industries. His creative talents have garnered significant recognition with 7 prestigious writing awards for his science fiction screenplays. These works delve into fascinating realms, including the paranormal phenomena, out-of-body experiences, UFOs, because Dick likes his aliens, and neurotechnology, government conspiracies, and altered states of the universe. If this doesn't sound like fun, I don't know what does. Let's go to Dick Landon here, first time on Spaced Out Radio. Want to give a shout out to our former previous guest, Eugene Braxton, who said, Dave, you have to get Dick Landon on Spaced Out Radio. So when Eugene speaks, I listen, and here we are. Dick, welcome to the show for the first time.
Thank you so much. This is a pleasure. I know, and thank you, Eugene. I really appreciate you, man.
How does a guy with a science degree get into astral projection? You know how much you have to turn the science off to get to that level of woo?
Well, you've probably heard of SRI and remote viewing back in the 70s. I probably heard about how the government was very interested in remote viewers, which is similar but different than out-of-the-body experiences. And they were all scientists. And then I mentioned to you before, Ray Hernandez. He has a list of academics as long as his arm studying this phenomena, generally around that kind of, well, Ray and I are the same. We put most all this paranormal stuff into one bucket, and that bucket would be consciousness. And he had his experience with a UFO. I have seen UFOs, and I have actually in the Astral, I've met a couple. So where do we start?
Well,
where do you want?
let's start off with Ray Hernandez here, because he
Yeah.
did incredible work during his time running the Free Experiencers Club, which was set up by Dr. Edgar Mitchell, the former astronaut and sixth
Right.
man to walk on the moon. And I took that test. And I don't know whether I passed or failed, but I think out of all the questions, I think it was like 100 questions or something along those lines. And I think I answered 95 of them, showing that I was an experiencer. I was like, well, I guess this kind of seals the deal.
Showing
right?
showing what? What did you say? Showing
on the because you had to hit a certain amount of a percentage to say whether or not you were an experiencer, and I was like 95 out of 100.
Oh, yeah. So we could talk about your experiences here.
No, this ain't about me, my friend. This is definitely not about me.
I thought I could get out of this. Okay.
No, you're stuck for the next 2 hours. We've got you hook, line, and sinker to talk about astral projection. So let's talk about this. How did you first learn about astral projection?
Well, when I was a kid, like most kids, they had experienced wild and kind of out-of-body dreams, and that's exactly what I experienced. It was it's spontaneous when you're a kid. The brain activity of a child before they hit 10 years old is a lot different than an adult. They're open. Their brain activity is usually in the theta range, which is that in-between state between sleep and wakefulness. They're walking around with that all the time. So, but I used to go outside when I was probably 5 or 6, right through my wall. I'd spontaneously, not consciously, I'd come out of my body and go through the wall and window. It didn't matter. And then my favorite thing to do out there was I would bounce on the ground up to the telephone wires and down. And I would keep doing that until I got enough inertia, astral inertia, whatever you want to call it, and to take off up into the sky. I think probably the most influential stuff for me was I had a lot of friends that were, I guess you could call us all geeks a little bit in high school and junior high. We were reading Carlos Castaneda and William Blake and and also the Book of the Dead, Tibetan yogi stuff. And so that makes, I think I probably first dabbled in the meditative part when I was probably about 16 or so. Um, like I say, just dabbled. This particular thing we're going to talk about tonight, astral projection and learning how to do it, or and why and what is it, and um, it all has to do with a lot of drive and persistence. It's not an easy thing. I would have to meditate a lot uh, to get back into a conscious. The idea is that you want to consciously exit, um, and the spontaneous stuff is okay. I mean, for instance, if you um, I'm jumping around here. I just want to make a point that meditation happens to be the primary, just like Eugene would say, the primary catalyst and mechanism for you to basically rewire your brain a little bit. The neuroplasticity that goes on, they know with monks, over 40 years, they'll look at their brains and they'll say, oh, here's a monk who's 80 years old and he has a brain of a 25-year-old. So the neuroplasticity and meditation and accessing these areas, or rewiring really the areas so that you can access your executive functions from a deeper state, like sleep, for instance. um, so one thing led to another, and I would say probably 10 years ago was when I really had the time and the persistence to do it. And the reason for that was I had a heart operation, and yeah, I wouldn't wish it on anybody, and I had to heal myself, and so I meditated. I could hardly sleep for 6 months, it seemed, and I had to heal myself by meditating. And so naturally, I had a lot of curiosity about this ever since. Well, I had out of the body experiences with sleep paralysis when I was 20 years old. Um, 4 or 5 times a year. Sleep paralysis is a whole subject that we could talk about. It's kind of a shortcut. I always, I'm on the Astral Projection Techniques Facebook group, which I highly recommend. And a lot of people, other than getting yourself to a level of this neuroplasticity you need to connect different parts of your ancient brain and your newer brain, your ancient brain being your, you know, a reptilian side when you were running around after, chasing after animals to eat. And so you have to get past that. And I lost my place. Why don't you ask
That
me
is quite
something?
all right.
I,
Let me ask you this.
yeah.
You know, you come from academia, you come from an area where there is a lot of trying to find answers, and yet a lot of the subjects like UFOs, astral projection, consciousness, near death experience, there really doesn't seem to be a lot of science that can prove or disprove the phenomena as it is. What is the adventure for you in this?
Well, I have to correct you a little bit there. Just recently, they established scientifically in an abstract that I remember going over. I think I fed it through the AI, that they have determined that lucid dreaming is an altered state, and like wakefulness, dreaming, daydreaming. It's a well established scientific fact. Um, there's all kinds of anecdotal stuff about OBEs, but scientifically, lucid dreaming uh, has some exceptional. They had all kinds of EEG stuff on people and subjects, and lucid dreaming is a little less difficult to get into than an astral projection. A conscious astral projection. But anyway, the lucid dreaming established itself as a very unique brain system where the not only did your frontal lobes or your executive decision areas come alive, they came alive a lot, and to a point where the gamma readings were amplified and also increased. And it's very unusual to be sleeping and have your gamma level of brain activity go off, which is a flow state. They call that the state where you can make baskets over and over again because you're a professional basketball player. It's just
Right.
you don't and it just so yeah, no, so I just didn't mean to go on about correcting that one thing you said, but um why what I get out of this, you said, or how
Hmm.
did I start?
What kind of fun do you
uh
get out of this? What's the
oh,
enjoyment?
I that's an open-ended question too. um the fun factor, okay, is not important. It's not in this in personally, I'm just speaking personally for myself, but I find that, and I this is kind of a consensus, among people that are experienced astral projectors. If you approach it on a purely I want to say spiritual uh, quest, adventure, and simply that and nothing more, and you use your meditations and practice and affirmations along the same line. So now the fun is a sidebar. Okay. It's just, there's situations that arise that, um, there's so many reasons for approaching it this way. If you approach it on the fun level, Dave, all right. Now, most people, if they work hard enough at this, they'll be able to get out of their bodies. Um, it can be very fearful, you know, and but to to get out and get above a lower astral planes, which can be a little iffy. I'm not trying to throw any fear out there at all, uh, about getting out, and the lower astral planes are going to be like a hell region or anything. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that you just like a lucid dreams are completely different. Um, if you go for the spiritual and only the spiritual quest, and or a primary way of approaching from day one, the lower astral planes are never going to really bother you. I mean, I had for instance, okay, I'll give you a for instance, which some people on the Facebook group kind of got a giggle out of. You have to have discernment when you get out. Okay, so I had a out of body just last week. I had one 2 days ago. I don't know if this is it, but I I got out of my body, and there was an instance where I always fly. I always you most of the time in a conscious out of body, not all the time, but most of the time when you're not at a higher uh, or you don't use intentions for a more higher level experience, you just get out in your room and then you go through the wall and you go outside. That's what I usually do. So I'm flying around outside, and this gold car pulls up out in front of my house. It's like a 50s style big giant limo. He's driving on the European side, the right side, and his windows are down. So I go right up. I kind of fly over there, and I'm looking at him, from the passenger side. So he's a little ways away. Now he's like a middle-aged man and nothing unusual really. But then it starts to tunnel vision on me, and he like kind of starts, and he's babbling. I mean, like I'm babbling
Hmm.
sometimes here, but his babble was much worse. I Not one word I could get. So, and this was the funny part that they liked at the Facebook group, and it's a matter of discernment. You get out, and And I just said, "Are you a card-carrying agent of Jesus Christ?" And it shut him down like so fast. I mean, he didn't know what to do. so so I ignored him completely and continued on with my journey. And that journey in particular, we could talk about it whenever. Uh, Ended very, very, very well. It was probably one of my most spiritual journeys that it wasn't long lived, but it was one of my most intense emotional. It's very emotional out there. You have to kind of keep your head. So the fun, Dave, there's the fun is a sidebar. The fun, if it comes around, this is what the fun is, Dave. It's pure discovery. It's like you're Christopher Columbus. You're landing on a new world. And the Indians come up to you with, so it's just in other dimensions and other beings, and yeah.
Well, let me rephrase that, because I think, like, for myself, what I find fun is the anticipation of the experience. Going through the experience, whether it's astral projection or seeing a UFO or a Bigfoot or whatever it may be, that is the result. And unfortunately, that result usually happens in seconds, not minutes, not hours, not days. It happens in seconds. And knowing when you just get that internal consciousness feeling that something is going to happen, it absolutely is addicting. And that's what I look forward to, is that feeling of having something happen.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, that's what I tell people with sleep paralysis, because that's kind of a shortcut. There is a shortcut to getting out of your body, and that's sleep paralysis. Because sleep paralysis, you're a prisoner. You can't move. So you use your mind to get out of your body. It's a very scary moment for a lot of people. I'm trying to think, they've done studies on that, how many people had sleep paralysis in their lives, but I think it's like 30-40% of the population at least. But you get out of your body, and it's rather amazing. I'm trying to think of another example I could give you. Like Jürgen Zevi, if you read his stuff, he's amazing. He did some real long, deep dives into the astral afterlife area. I've just danced around it, but it is quite amazing to meet basically people that have to be on. I can't come up with anything else. They have to be on a dimension of heaven, that has a million levels. And when you meet up with some people in the afterlife, and it kind of aligns a little bit with maybe some of my thoughts of what the afterlife would be, it's probably one of the most amazing things when you travel and meet people that actually are living lives that are, for instance, a good story for this is, it's not my story. It's a woman I know. Her father passed away, and she had an out-of-body experience, and she found her father, excuse me, and he was working in a garage on cars, and so he was a car mechanic all his life. And she said, "Dad, what are you doing here? You worked all your life on cars, and don't you want to do something else?" And he just said, "What else would I do? I love this so much. It was my passion." And he's building these most creative cars in this most beautiful creative garage in the afterlife. And I just thought that was precious, that story.
Hold that thought, because we are going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. We're going to get more into astral projection. Is it healthy to do? What are the side effects? And so much more. Researcher, author, scientist, Dick Landon is here tonight on Spaced Out Radio. First half hour was great, man. I know the second half hour is going to be just as amazing. This is Spaced Out Radio. All right, we are clear. That was fast.
Yeah, I could have been a little more on point, but
You're doing great.
oh, good.
You're doing great,
Okay.
man.
I haven't done one in video, and it's a little distracting. I'm like, but
It's just you and me, man.
yeah,
Just you and me.
no,
Hanging
yeah,
on out.
yeah. So, Dave, I take it you've been astral projecting.
Yes. Now, I have to put a caveat in here. I haven't for a long time. I haven't actually since 2018.
Well, that's cool. I wanted to talk about the actually, just that, how long sometimes it takes before you get,
Yeah.
in between experiences can be all of a sudden like months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I got, lack of a better term, fast-tracked,
Yeah.
I know that I can do. I've never been trained. I just
Right.
know that I can do it.
Yeah.
When I decided to go down the rabbit hole, they threw everything at me.
Yeah.
And
Did you go to the
whoever they
Monroe
are.
Institute?
Pardon me?
Did you go to the Monroe Institute or
No,
no? Okay.
no.
I haven't. I haven't either.
Whoever they are, that's what I call the phenomena. I call them they.
Okay.
I couldn't tell you how to astral travel or how I do it, but I know I can.
Yeah.
I know I can do a little bit of remote viewing.
Wow.
I'm not very accurate with it, but
Yeah.
it's because I don't practice.
Yeah.
I know that I can summon UFOs.
Ooh. Wow.
I've done it on camera.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
In fact, one time when a bunch of my buddies were in Utah filming, I was sitting in this exact chair when I called them just after 11 o'clock that night, and I said, you guys got to bring a camera out, look at this spot in the sky because there's going to be something flying by here momentarily, so hurry up. And they caught it on film.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a contactee. I'm an abductee.
Whoa.
I'm right now my pet project is going to a very haunted place and trying to get the Bigfoot to come out and talk to us.
Oh, wow. Aren't they transdimensional?
I think so.
Yeah, I think everything comes
so.
down to, yeah, I think so. Huh.
I have a place up here. I call it my mini Skinwalker Ranch.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, their new season just started. I think it's beyond Skinwalker Ranch now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I have a lot of fun. I love being freaked out. I love being scared out of the forest. Hour 3 after you leave, Dick, there will be talk about that.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it was a crazy, crazy weekend. Mm-hmm.
Well, if you like fear, then I could see how you could adapt to astral projection, because you have to really not like fear. That's the wrong expression. You have to ignore it a lot. You have to get around it. You have to be detached, because there are shadows and weird shit now and then.
Oh, yeah. I know. Been there. All right. We've got about 40 seconds.
Okay.
Anonymous, welcome to SOR chat. Thank you tonight to Pam, our lone super chatter of the night. We really appreciate your love and support. Super chat is a great way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. So, don't forget you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag, so make sure you check it on out today. Here we go. Here we go with the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott, and we are astral projecting tonight's show to each and every one of you. Hey, we want to remind you that if you miss portions of this show or others, our archives are always free on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here we go with author, researcher Dick Landon. We're talking about astral projection, astral travel, what it's like to take off from your body. Lord knows the way I'm gaining weight again lately. Maybe I need some astral projection for myself. Holy cow. No, I'm teasing. Dick, welcome back to the show.
Well, thank you. It's great to be here.
I'm going to ask you something. I've talked about this subject for a long time. I've never asked this question.
Oh, give it to me.
What are the health effects of astral travel?
I am glad you asked that question. There's a lot of health benefits to it. Like, I healed myself from the meditations. I'm not saying, but that you need that for the astral projection. But beyond that, I would say primarily you're going to get the health benefits from the meditation. I don't know once this is all unknown area. When you get out, first of all, it's hard to stay out a long time. Okay, so how you're going to really get that many health benefits during that period. Now, there are people, and I had done it in the astral, but not to myself yet, that have worked on healing themselves from the astral, because you have the etheric body, and you can actually use that as an energy body to work on your physical body back in bed that's sleeping. A lot of people wonder probably the split in consciousness between those two bodies, and I have a theory about that. But the idea for health benefits is probably we couldn't even imagine, Dave. I mean, you start to being able to get out of your body on a consistent basis, and you have an intention to learn something out there, or heal yourself, or heal. In my case, I wanted to heal somebody else in the astral, and it was a really cool projection that I had. You have to use intention to do it. So I imagine, Dave, I think you read in the comments, somebody was like bench pressing 400 pounds in the astral, or I know that's funny and everything, but I mean, you could probably do this kind of stuff to keep it kind of more earthbound. The meditation that you need to be a consistent astral projector is definitely going to give you all kinds of health benefits. Just, and there's also an aspect, I think, in just the evolution aspect of humanity itself. I feel that strongly. the Tibetan yogis, they're using astral projection to bilocate and to reach awakening states, the enlightenment. So that's got to be very healthy to do that. Period. That's got to be one of the most healthy things you could do for yourself is raise your consciousness in the astral, or at least in the practice to get there. I can't reiterate enough that the practice, it's difficult and you have to be determined, but in the end, you will find that it changes your life. It changes your perspective mostly on discovering that there is more than this reality. Most people haven't, it just doesn't cross their minds until we all take that final trip, right? When we die, because that right there is the astral you're going to be going through. And if you have already been through it over and over again, somewhat, you've built up an incredible consciousness feature to deal with it. So what I've said in the past is that if you approach this as spiritually only, in a spiritual direction, and you concentrate on that spirituality of your improving and being coming awakened somewhat to this whole process, and the end process is death, and that's the bardos in the in the Tibetan Buddha tradition, and they want a clear light mind. They go right to nirvana. Now, what's nirvana? What's reincarnation? What's karma? I mean, these things and death, they all kind of like blend and mix together. So there are distinct knowledge that you pick up when you're in the astral about some of these aspects. And I will say right now, and I'll make an outrageous statement right now and say I don't believe in karma. I know there's not karma, and I know reincarnation is not forced on you. When you have, with the near death experiences, those are probably the best avenues to study crossing over. But to cross over smoothly, and to cross over without fear, and to cross over with joy, and cross over with this clear light mind, that all the traditions, all the spiritual traditions, that's what they're shooting for. That's shooting the moon. If you do that, you will construct right out of that consciousness, because there's no judgment there over there. There's no judgment, but you can wind up in a lower astral if you don't, if you don't work at this a little bit. So it's a very, it, I would say the fun, Dave, that you mentioned way back when, is that you become aware and knowledgeable on how to not only die and accept your death, but you have a wide brand new perspective on what reality is, and how as a human being going through this 3D level of reality, how you can maneuver through it, how you can become the most you can become in this 3D area, by learning about all the magic. And it's miracles. It's like, it's like Gnosticism. The miracles that happened before Christ, and his disciples that followed him. Okay, that Gnosticism was deep. They were aware of a unity consciousness, like, I don't know, I want to say 1,000 years with the mystery schools before Christ was born. They were aware of it already, that you have these abilities. There's an excellent book written by this. So if you want to make a note of this book, this author, I should have his name. Anyway, it's called The Lost Art of Resurrection. And in the ancient times, the pharaohs and the aristocrats, they practiced different ways of escaping their body. while they're alive. It was like this particular issue that we're talking about. Uh, let me throw another little curve in there. Why I say this is a spiritual uh, and only spiritual quest you should have. Yes, you could astral project if you don't, just want to have fun. But now, the story, I had a story. Um, the idea that astral projection is just going to be fun is ridiculous. you should shoot much higher than that for your self benefit and all around health, like you asked, your mental health.
What about the dangers of it? Because
Dangers.
many people believe that when you leave your body becomes exposed, and there are other souls out there that might want to try and jump in your body that's vacant at that point.
I've heard this question, and it kind of baffles me, because you're an infinite soul. You're a multidimensional person, and the consciousness that leaves you when you're in the astral, you're not. You're also laying there, and your memory part of your consciousness is connected to that etheric body. So you're not. I don't want to get deep into the soul versus spirit, or who's where, and who's what divine member is in your physical body or your astral projection body. I don't, I'm not going to play that game. I don't know. But the idea basically is, when you split your consciousness, you're achieving some areas of the higher dimensions, and the knowledge is so intense. They talk about downloads. They talk about the bliss. When you get some of these higher interactions that you have, you cannot even bring that back, because you'll forget it. That the terrestrial mind that is in your physical body in the bed just can't handle it all. So there's always this connection. There's no silver cord. That, I think, that's a psychological kind of dependency myself. I had been pulled by some force before by the back of my head, but I'm not sure if that was any kind of silver cord. But I digress. So
Well,
go ahead.
let me add something here to this.
Yeah.
A friend of mine who is a twin, and her sister are near identical twins.
Oh yeah.
And a couple of years ago, maybe a year or so ago, maybe 2 years now, her twin sister says to her, "I can't wait to die. I can't wait to get out of here." Like she wasn't interested in offing herself. Like, let's just put this line,
Yeah.
and so a twin knows their twin better than anybody else. I think we can agree on that. There's been studies on that. And now she said that after she went into this couple-day retreat meditation, when she came out, she was not the same. Her sister was not the same person.
Wow. 2 days. Ooh.
Yeah, it took a couple of days.
Amazing.
But was not the same person. And she believes that her true sister's soul left the body vacant, and another soul came in to take over for the balance or remainder of her life, whatever she has, 20, 30, 40 years, whatever it may be, right? What do you think about something like that?
I think that's preposterous. I just she had to go through some kind of if she went to the retreat, she was looking for something, and she rewired like really quickly. Maybe she had Kundalini. I don't know. That nobody's going to get in anybody's body when your consciousness is split. I'll even go woo-woo as much as this. Okay, Dave, I'll say You and I are infinite beings, and everyone else, the billions of people on this world, they have a distinct part of them that's not going anywhere. Okay. You want to call it a soul or spirit. I like to think of spirits as when you're traveling, okay, someplace, and a soul is when you pass. That's the way I kind of differentiate it. But you're gonna not have any problem. There is no opening. There's no. You have what I was going to say is you have free will. Okay. Now a lot of people balk at the idea of free will, and I don't really know why. It's kind of a sticky subject with some people. But to me, it's fundamental. It's like the prime directive, with Star Trek. It's free will is there. Um, so if I mean, if you're dabbling in the dark arts, which are, fundamentally, I have no idea, but the stories are that number one, it might be easier. Maybe she's dabbling in something like that, and she got, in trouble with it. That's the best I can give you, Dave. You're there. Nobody's going to get in anybody that is not doing. If you're doing your out of body practice with a good heart and a good intention, all right. This one fella, I told this story, but it's a good story. This one fellow was in prison, and he learned how to astral project because you got a lot of time. So he got good at it, and he was in there for life too. And he was like maybe 40 years old. So he just walked out of the prison, every time he got out of his body, and because he did, intense meditation, basically. And he always went to his guide, and we can talk about guides, what they are, or, whatever. And used to argue over and over again with his guides that he wanted to see his deceased mother, and they said, no, 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 you're not ready. Which is a very common, even if you get an answer, or even if you find a guide, it's very common for them to just go, and not yet, buddy. You got to earn your stripes here. So he actually would get in fist fights with his guides. I mean, and I just thought that was a humorous story because I use astral projection, of course, for just the opposite. I wouldn't go out and fight somebody. It's just seems like such a the last thing in the world you would do is go out and fight with your guides in the astral. But yeah, so that was a funny story having to do with people when they get out of their bodies. Do you want another one, Dave?
Well, I understand that your opinion on that the idea does sound preposterous. I guess maybe I'm a little too woo on this. Maybe it's because I want to believe it, because I do believe in the free will as well, as
good.
you say. But
That's
if your free will, if you have free will and your free will no longer meets whatever your duties are on this planet, you do have the right to leave. So why couldn't you leave the spiritually leave the body and be replaced?
Well, you hear the stories about near-death experiences, and they get to a certain point and they go, okay, you can stay and continue or go back. Did she die when she was at the retreat and had a near-death experience?
No, no. She just.
How different was she? Really, seriously, how different?
I've never met her.
Oh, okay. But okay, I hear you.
I'm just going by the story that it was told to me.
Right. I hear you though about twins. I'm a twin myself, but I'm not identical. I'm fraternal. But yeah, the twins they've done all kinds of studies about telepathy and this and that twins have, and I can't answer that, Dave. I answered the best I could. Maybe she got possessed because she was in the dark arts and in the retreat. I don't, if she changed that much, it's just impossible. I've never delved into anything like that. I don't really care to. But I know for a fact that if you do want to astral travel and you do keep it at a very high ethical level, you'll have very, very little problems. Most problems people have are escaping from their body. And there's all kinds of techniques, and we can talk about those. And I can tell you, some of my opinions on that that work for me. I can't say they work for me on a real consistent basis. And that's another thing that you and I off camera talked about a little bit. The idea of astral projecting as a recreational or adventure type desire is, I think it's not appropriate. What I'm saying is that if you wanted to get further, faster, higher dimensionally, you put all your faith in a higher power. That's the most important. And your meditation's next. The most important probably is meditation. Then your intentions are next most important. And your determination is really up there too. But it takes a lot of work. But to do it, you're not putting yourself at risk. There's most of the time people come back to their bodies in a split second because they either think of their body or they're a little emotional or frightened. They could zap right to their body. So I think the idea of losing control of your body is 1,000% impossible. I mean,
2 minutes to go.
Yeah, go ahead, Dave.
2 minutes to go before we go to break at the top of the hour. Dick Landon is our guest tonight. We're talking to astral travel. Why would somebody want to do this? Why should people try this?
Well, like I said, a lot of people are interested in what happens when they die. And I mean, you can go through life not thinking about it. Our society hardly thinks about it, hardly talks about it. Everybody goes, "Oh, your mother is looking down from heaven on you, and she approves of everything you do." No. It's the idea of why to do it would be to answer some of those questions and to literally configure with your consciousness a higher ceiling for yourself, and overall for society, I think it would be really beneficial for society to open up about these things. The idea that paranormal or astral projection, out of the body experiences, the saints in the Catholic Church have been dubbed saints because of their abilities to levitate, their abilities to bilocate, and they hid them. They hid them away and made them saints like 200 years later. So there's a lot of hypocrisy and misinformation generally about when you go to any worship center and what they're basically propagandizing you on. It's really sad, but it was structured a long time ago by civilizations that I feel were barbaric in nature, and their reasoning was one of power. and I think it's still that way. I think,
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I'm going to get you to hold on right there, Dick, because we are going to take a break here
Okay.
at the top of the hour. Dick Landon is here. More on the astral traveling experience. What's it like to leave your body? This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott. All right, we are clear. Dick, I'm going to put you back in the green room. We're going to take about a 5.5 minute break here, and I'll be right back, okay? All right, see you in a few. Be right back, everybody. I am back. Let's bring Mr. Landon back in.
Hello.
How you doing,
Hello.
buddy?
Hello. I'm doing good.
You having fun?
Oh yeah, this is a trip.
Right on. We got about a minute to go.
Okay.
All right. I think we're caught up on people. Big thank you tonight to Pam, Amy, and Deborah Rooney for the super chats. Greatly appreciate the love and support. Helps us with what we do each and every night here on Spaced Out Radio. And, of course, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. Why? We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag, so check it on out. And good way to kick off the week this week. Get yourself a new t-shirt or hat or a hoodie. Yeah, they all work. Here we go, everybody. Here comes hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. We appreciate you joining us wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. What is this? Umbriferous. Umbriferous is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's bring in our guest, Dick Landon. What's it like to astral travel? Oh, it sounds so much fun, yet so scary at the same time. He's an author, researcher, astral traveler, and a guy who pedicures and manicures as well. I do. Dick does as well. Yeah, I'm just teasing. How you doing, Dick?
This is great, Dave. I'm having a lot of fun here.
Excellent. That is the key to this show, is to have fun talking about these weird, strange topics like astral travel. All right, what is it like to leave your body, and where do you go?
It's not as strange as you think, Dave. It's going to be a little bit. Most of the time when you get out, you're going to find yourself in your bedroom. And the fun part is that you can jump, see if you're lighter, and you'll float up. And you can pass your hand through the wall. You can put your finger through the palm of your hand. I sat on the end of my bed one time. They say you want to kind of move away from your sleeping body. But I sat down at the foot of the bed one time. I kind of completely ignored my body from day one. I don't really care. But I sat down one time and I put my hand back over both my legs and I could feel my body. So that's an aspect of the astral. A lot of people probably you'll experience a lot of things in the astral, but you can experience where you pass through things, and you can also open doors and pick up things, and it's just like a real world. It is essentially an altered dimension of 3. If you want it to be 3D, everything's solid. I've been into astral cities at higher levels. You get into what people might call, an astral city, and just glass and chrome and skyscrapers, and just amazing. I mean, like the Matrix. Just you're in wonder, and but I was flying around. I was trying to find someone, some other astral projector, because a lot of times, most of the time, like I can't think of a time where I found other beings. Oh well, I did. I did once. I have to. There's always a excuse. Flying around. So you have this flying power, and sometimes people see you, sometimes they don't. Depends on what level you're on. Um, but I walked into after I flew around. I was trying to find somebody. I flew around the city. I couldn't find anybody flying. That is, but it was a regular city. I went, down on the sidewalk, and I walked into a cafe, and it had a big mirror right on the side of me, and a lot of, I had intentions to do this, and I looked in the mirror, and I did it distinctly 4 times. I'd look in the mirror, I'd stop looking, I'd look again, and everything's solid. I think I ordered a beer or something. I was sitting right at a nice big oak table, a big mirror, and this is just a little side story. I'd look in the mirror, and there was a blonde lady, in her 40s, and I look in the mirror, and it was a Aborigine lady. I had distinctly, Aborigine woman, older, like 60 or so. And then I looked in the mirror again, and it was a young boy. And, so like I said, it's, you have to take when you get out, um, as far as the activities, uh, the interactions, are probably the most distinct, and rewarding part. I really like to fly around, like the fun part that you talk about, Dave. But um, the idea that there's beings, I'll tell you one with a UFO that you hinted that I'm very much interested in UFOs. I believe that through this ascension that you can do to get out of your body, that you'll have the ability to communicate with them in the astral. And I had one of my best communications, I thought. Uh, I flew. A lot of times you roll out of your body, and if you have an intention ahead of time, my favorite intention is I want to sing and fly and go to Summerland, which is the old phrase for heaven. So I would use that intention right before falling to sleep after my meditation. And usually you wake up with vibrations, and those are kind of tricky to get out. We can talk about those, but uh, so one of my most rewarding times was just recently. It was a surprise. They're all surprises. The the idea of not being surprised in the astral is absurd. There are so many realities out there. Um, it's an infinite number, I think, of possibilities that you can visit and happen to yourself. In this one instance, I flew up in a rather high out of the sky, and I found a platform with 3 young children and 2 adults. The adults were floating on the side of the platform, and that's what I did. I floated on the side of the platform. I said, "This is my kind of people." I said, I want to see what's going on here. So the end results of it is, the older man, after we communicated, everybody was happy, and they were like, they loved to astral travel. The woman astral traveled 48 years, and the man 50 years, and the kids were just starting out, and they were loving it. And so here's the surprise. The so everything's kind of just nothing totally crazy yet, in the whole thing. Then the fella, he says, "Hey, hold this character here I have here." So he hands me a baby, essentially. I mean, when I first I said, this is a baby. So I'm holding a baby, but the baby has this long, curly hair, blonde hair. And the baby starts talking to me just like an adult. It's a higher level being, without a doubt. And the baby like blessed me, and then she put her face against my cheek and blessed me some more. And it was the most emotional. Uh, I don't want to get emotional now, but I had ever felt in the astral. Of course, right after that, I woke up because it was so emotional. Um, so, Dave, what kind of things you can do? Um, it's just, I mean, I have a list of printouts of things that happened to me in the last year or
Read them out.
less.
Read them out. Let's hear them.
Well, I'll try to drill down through them a little bit. Okay. After reading this night, my birthday, I then did my routine deep breathing using Om for 15 minutes. This night, I especially used visualizations to tickle my pineal gland and the body mind to flex my and I would rock my body mind to flex my etheric body. Sometimes in your meditations, you could rock your etheric body around inside you, kind of loosen it up. I rolled over on my side. I knew my body would fall asleep rather quickly. It was my first time I tried this, really. I'd been reading about it and heard about it so much. So I'd laid there. I waited for my body to fall asleep. Now, this is called body asleep, mind awake, or mind awake and body asleep. So this is one of those little next shortcuts that if you get good at.
Right.
And so to my surprise, I felt the tingles head to toe and the usual voices around you. You get hypnagogic sounds around you when you get into this in-between state. That scares a lot of people, but I get excited. I mean, I go, oh boy, I'm in the hypnagogic area now. I can do this. Then the rushes and tingles. But then I tried rolling out slowly to the side. I just was out, lightly standing there inside of my bed. I walked around my bed, ignored my body, went immediately to the window, going through the glass. It is different than a wall. It's thin, almost sticky in texture. Uh, it almost feels like glass going into your nose, your mouth, in your ears, every pore as you slowly push through the glass. It's matrix like. I wasn't surprised it was dark outside. Now I was standing erect, looking up the side wall of my house. Oh, I said, I first just peeked out the window with my face. I could see something strange going on. It was like big flakes of flower petals were falling everywhere. They were all white, big flower petals just falling like snowflakes. I looked up at the exterior of my house wall. There were these long vines growing with big, giant white flowers hanging down. I approached them. I think at this point I might have been communicating with them, and I flew up to them. They immediately sprang away from the house. The flowers, still attached to long vines, started driving themselves into my etheric body. I became one with all these flowers. It was ecstatic. Then for a moment I thought, wow, I'm going to have a good OBE because my body must be really tired and it will just stay asleep. But of course I immediately woke up. That was last week or something. The little child one was just the other day, just 2 days ago.
What's that like when you all of a sudden see something like a little child like that?
Oh, well, I had somebody in the forum, comment, one of the admins, saying that you get in the outside, and if you're dealing with anything like animals or small people, beings, that supposedly, is a divine being. I've had my encounters. I have so many animal things, like for instance, I had to put down my German Shepherd like 3 years ago, and it was kind of traumatic. I remember I was praying after I dropped him off. I couldn't stay with him. I just couldn't. That he would reincarnate as a person. Now, I don't believe in reincarnation for a sure thing, but it's, I saw myself different myself in the mirror, so I can't. What's that? But I don't think the reincarnation is forced on you. Anyway, I was pleading with God or a higher source, please make my dog a person. He needs, So for 3 years, Dave, half the time, especially if, I have the intention, because a lot of times you get out of your body, and I'm like 5 years old when I get out of my body. I mean, I'm not really, as far as executive functioning, it's kind of like, um, I'm just having, I'm just taking everything in like a child. And anyway, if I remember, my dog Jericho is right there. He's actually pulled me out of my body.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I'll be in the hypnagogic state and he'll come crashing into my bedroom. He'll jump up on the bed and start pulling me out of my body. It's like, and whenever Jericho's with me, he's usually with me in the beginning because I fly away. I'll go. And you can do these anchoring things too. There's so much to this. There's a lot, to stay out of the astral for a long time. It helps. But when I had Jericho, I think he was helping me, and I had really good journeys. And he was, let me tell you, he was different too in the astral, because I don't like this to admit this on air, but I had to put him down because he just liked biting people. I think I was being tested by God, and so I had to put him down. He was only 6 years old. But in the astral, like he would immediately like kill a cat if he saw a cat. I mean, I took a shelter animal, and you got to be real careful with that. So in the astral, he loves cats. He loves everybody. He's just super mellow.
Let's get to some audience questions here.
All right.
Let's go to Desert Rat right off the bat here. Has there been any studies of the background radiation inhibiting experiences? Kozyrev's mirror or St. Benedict's cave, granite inhibits various radiation?
Wow. I never gave that a thought. Radiation. I imagine it's going to affect you, definitely, because it's not good for your health. And one of the first things you have to do is take care of your health immediately. You can't drink. You can't eat a lot. You can't eat sugar. Your health-wise, it's really important to have your body as clean as possible. When you go to bed at night, you don't even want to eat for 5 hours before bed. The radiation and granite and all that, I have no idea.
Right,
I think
let's move over to Brendan here. What are your thoughts on quantum mapping of the subconscious and potential risks?
quantum mapping, they know about 3 or 4% of the brain. I mean, they really don't. Our DNA has been mapped. I think it's around 5 or 6% total. You always hear about dark matter and dark energy, right? And they call the unmapped DNA junk DNA. And for all we know, it could be alien DNA that hasn't been activated yet. And that's why I say this stuff is important for the evolution of mankind. I think for their mental abilities. We're right now on this planet, we're still like, it's just so bad. There's a lot of hate out there still, and that's first we got to get around that, and we got to get leaders. One time I said we should get all the leaders of the United States, I mean in the United Nations, and all let them go on a 5-day ayahuasca journey together. It's terrible the way we're so divided in this world, country and country. And I'm really getting sidebarred here now. I'm getting distracted, but Yeah, that's all I have to say about that.
All right, let's go over to the Andromedan. Have you ever had any false awakenings?
Oh yeah, yeah.
What is a false awakening first and foremost?
It's simply an out of body experience that's spontaneous. So as an adult, you'll have them wander around the house and notice that the front door is different, the windows are different. One time I went into my bathroom, to do in the middle of the night, right? And I'm in the bathroom, and it looked like a hand grenade went off in the bathroom. I mean, literally, it was just blown out the wall, and so that hit me like a ton of bricks. I said, I'm out of my body. So it's a spontaneous OBE. It's quite simply, if there's anything simple about what we're talking about, Dave, that's what it is.
Let's move on here. We got 3 minutes to go before we go to break. Dick Landon is our guest tonight. Let's go to Carrie. Is it possible to unintentionally astral project?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I just spoke about it. It's called a spontaneous astral projection. Usually people the first time, as teenagers or 20 something will have this happen. I think the percentage of, I always like to try to quantify some of this, of people that have had spontaneous out of the body experiences is around 15% in the population. Sleep paralysis is around 30 to 40. But you can have, that's the only way you can have an unintentional astral projection. You get out, it's a complete surprise. You're like, oh, there's my body, and you bang, you're back in your body and you're wide awake. So it's just that the time it takes is also spontaneous, because as soon as you get out, you'll go, oh my word, what is this? And then you go bang back in your body and you're wide awake and your heart is going, 100 miles an hour. But people, they might think, the aliens just dropped them off. They might think all kinds of strange things when it happens to them the first time. Let me tell you this story, Dave. A couple of really renowned authors in the field of astral projection, they are trying to prove astral projection. Yeah, it was one of your first questions. So there's a lot of work going into that. They, these two authors, they both, the first time they got out of their body, and they were, I think one of them, no, they were both intentionally, they read Bob Monroe's book and blah, 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 and they got out. They both thought they had a medical condition. It isn't like Kundalini, but I mean, it can be frightening the first time you get out, even if you're trying to do it intentionally. And these people, like I said, are very experienced and had been have written books on it, and they went to see their doctors. So it's something you have to be ready for, mentally. And I've told people before, the best way to approach this whole thing, this whole fear thing, and the noises and the hypnagogic and the old hag on your chest, when you're in sleep paralysis, you have to basically surrender, but you only have to do it one time, surrender to your death.
Right.
Yeah.
Hold that thought. We're going to go to break here. Dick Langdon for another half hour.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
All right, we are clear.
Dave, I was wondering if I could mention a couple things, or I was thinking I'd like to talk about, because you started talking about some higher aspects to astral projection, and I know we haven't got into the fundamentals of how to do it yet, and I don't know if we can get there. I mean, I have an action list that might help
Sure.
people, but
Let's get to that.
I could do that. I also wanted to mention at some point maybe that I have a book coming out, and it's not it's a fiction book. It's science fiction, but it contains a lot of very deep, dark stuff that we're talking about. It came, not deep dark. I mean more thorough study of what you can do, where you can go, and the possibilities. So I put it in a science fiction book, but I just wanted to mention that at some point, maybe. I think
Absolutely.
it'll be out in August.
Perfect.
Yeah, I'm really into doing that, writing now. Yeah, so I just had a couple of like heavy-ish things that I could throw out there. I wanted to talk about how people that get so into astral projection, like it's kind of like the Buddhist tradition, I am, and I am source, basically, and it's a trap, it's kind of an egoic trap, and I don't know
Mm-hmm.
if maybe in the juncture, maybe that's too much to talk about, or we could do something a little
Well,
lighter.
let's just roll with it, man, and see where it goes.
Okay. Thank you. Have you heard of the void? It's another thing that's interesting.
I have heard of it once.
Yeah, I'd love to talk about the void. I'd like to talk about deja vu and the Mandela effect.
Now we're getting into a whole second show we're going to have to bring you back on.
Yeah. Well, I got a lot of stuff here because like Ray Hernandez, all this stuff kind of comes together, I think, just in understanding. And that quantum question, it was a little off there, but the quantum and the AI area, whoa, with this and the mind and the transhumanal kind of approach to some of this stuff, it's just mind-boggling and interesting, though.
All right. We have about 2 minutes here.
Oh, good.
Before we're going to come back.
Yeah, I would love to come back anytime, Dave. This is a lot of fun.
It is fun. Let's hold off on Dick. Let's get you rebooked, but I would like to. I'd like to save you for a Mandela effect / deja vu for a different show.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely
That's just
right.
too much right there, because both of those topics absolutely send my mind racing, man, in a good way. I love those topics.
Okay.
And I don't want to lose out on the amount of time we have left and not giving those subjects the time they deserve.
I agree. I completely agree.
All right. I will message Filthy right now. Where are you, dirty one? Hey, I've just sent Klaus a note here to book you back into July to talk about deja vu and Mandela effect.
Oh yeah, sure. I don't know if I can fill a show on that, but
buddy, we're gonna fill a show on it. Trust me.
I can talk about consciousness for a whole show, though. I could do that.
We'll get into it all.
All right. Uh-oh, my power on my computer I better hook it up.
Here's the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Dick Landon is our guest. We are talking astral projection and out-of-body experiences. Before we bring him back on, we want to remind all of you to tune us on every major podcast network and on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here we go. Dick Landon, we have until the top of the hour. Dick, you have a new book coming out in August.
I do. August 1st. I'm shooting for August 1st. It's my basically a screenplay that did okay in the circles, and so I decided to make it even more attractive, to write a book along the lines of it. The title of it is the same as my screenplay, and it's called Two Black Op. The number 2, Black Op, O-P, one word. And it's got everything in it, Dave. And it's got conspiracies. You like conspiracies, right? It's yeah. It's a sci-fi. And there isn't I covered a lot of what we've been talking about in there, including a lot about aliens and historic kind of setting. So yeah, I think people would really enjoy it because it was easy for me to write because I could follow my screenplay, and so I think it's going to come out good. I'm on page like 170, and I think it's going to be about 300, 400 pages. So I'm just whittling away at it, and it's going to be an ebook initially. On Amazon, on Kindle. So thank you, Dave, for letting me talk about that.
No problem. One other thing we wanted to get into before we get to more audience questions. You wanted to do a breakdown of how people can astral travel.
Yeah, I was just, I was thinking that we haven't talked, that many techniques. I did mention the sleep paralysis, which is, I call it the shortcut. The sleep paralysis is a shortcut because you're stuck in your body until you roll out of it. And as long as you can get around the scary stuff, and I'm saying anybody, that gets sleep paralysis, next time they get it, they could have an out of body experience just by rolling out of their body as soon as they realize they're in sleep paralysis. The next technique was, I did slightly mention, was the body asleep, mind awake, where you lay there, and probably when you first go to bed, that's when it's happened to me, and my body's really tired. I can just consciously wait for my body to fall asleep. And when it does, you'll get the sensation of these vibrations. And everybody talks about the vibrations. Don't ask me exactly what that is happening, but they're distinct, and they can be really scary. But people have trouble. They're not scary. They're not painful or anything like that. It's just that it's kind of, the intensity can be a minimal intensity. Usually when you first get out of your body, some of these experiences are intense. So just realize that the first time is your toughest part, first time you get out. And toughest in the sense that you have to be very adaptable. You have to be, have to use controlled detachment, like Carlos Castaneda would write about, and you have to. He also writes about not being. It's kind of like that duality thing. So if you use those techniques in mind, body, sleep, you can feel your body go to sleep, and it just rushes right up your body, and you can roll out. So that is an area where a lot of people practice. They also practice with binaural beats, audio
Yes.
and yeah, audio entrainment. First time I used that was only like 5-6 years ago, and for some reason I've been avoiding it. And I wanted to talk to you about that a little bit too. But the first time I did it, my goodness, it was like I couldn't sleep all night. I was just in and out of my body the whole night. It was like I wanted it to stop. I think it was Monroe Institute, Hemisync. Very first time I was a virgin trying it, and it affected me that intensely. So psychologically, if you're ready and you've done a lot of meditation too, and you want to try the entrainment, uh, there's so many things on the internet you can get your hands on and listen to at night, and even fall asleep to it. Because if you fall asleep to it, there's another technique called wake back to bed, which I would like to I'd like to restate it as wake back to sleep, because
Mm-hmm.
you what you do is you'll sleep for 5 hours, and then you'll meditate for an hour or less, and breathing. You want to look into breathing techniques. You could use your breathing techniques to get out of your body too. There's so many avenues. So so once you uh, wake up and meditate for a while, I just roll over on my side and go to sleep. You always usually meditate on your back, and so I'd roll over on my side, and pretty much wait about 5-10 minutes. You wake right back up with the vibrations, where the vibrations, again, like I mentioned, that's your cue. The hardest part people have with vibrations is they have to learn how to surrender to them. They're a little intense. So it's a little like sleep paralysis. You have to like give in to them. And then when they get really, really, they can get violent almost, but they'll build, and then you can roll right out of your bed and plop right on the floor. But all these things take an incredible amount of determination and practice. I find that if you read strictly astral projection books at night before you go to bed, that helps. The subconscious mind is all powerful, Dave, and it's all secretive. It's like it's like a jungle, a Jungian jungle of shadows in your subconscious mind. So you have to kind of conquer, or look forward to trying to impress upon that subconscious mind when you go to bed with intentions and statements like, I will astral project tonight, I will lucid dream tonight. And when you get there, you have to anchor yourself. That's another tricky part, because you go, as soon as you, first few times, you just go, oh my God, I'm actually out of my body, or I'm in a lucid dream in my own dream. And then you bang, you go, right back to awake. So you have to learn how to anchor yourself. The anchoring techniques are very, very important. Carlos Castaneda used to use his hands, and it works. If you stare at your hands during the day, every other day, every time you go hiking, look at your hands for a while, or during the day, set your smartphone, look at your hands and study them. Every line, every lifeline, both sides, doesn't matter. And they'll pop right up. They'll pop up in a lucid dream, or they'll pop up. They won't pop up in an astral because you're already conscious, but you can look at your hands to ground yourself in the astral. You can pick up something in the astral and stare at it, and that will keep you in the astral longer. You can study it. It grounds you. In a lucid dream, if you pick something up and look at it, you could phase, and you could go, now I will go into the astral. While you're looking at, like a pebble from your lucid dream, everything will dissolve, literally dissolve. you know, and you'll be either in your body in full vibrations, or if you stay still, you'll have full vibrations. So you have to be a little patient there, or you'll be in another place. You could have a slight intention while you're looking at this stone in your hand. It's a matter of consciousness. Everything is consciousness. So um, some other techniques are, which I really appreciated. I learned from Vincent Field. I interviewed him on the radio, and we had a fantastic time. He's from Brazil, and he was talking about moving your etheric body around and concentrating on your third eye. That's almost like a given now when I meditate. If I forget to do that, then I don't have as much of a chance to get out of my body. But if you concentrate on your third eye, like a burning stone right in the middle of your head, and your heart too is important. Like there's a burning light right in the center of your chest, and your what you do is you get in your meditations. You'll start. I mentioned it before briefly, but you can start moving around inside, like rocking back and forth your etheric body. You can shake it around, and it's actually very the word is blissful. I mean, you start moving around your etheric body consciously inside your physical body. It's euphoric. It's just that alone is euphoric. And then if you keep at that for a while, which Vincent had me do after I read his book and talked to him on radio, bang, 2 or 3 times I was out because the etheric body was just bouncing around so much inside. It was almost violently banging around inside my head, mostly in your head and the back of your head, and that's where I always start it. And I just exploded. I mean, literally exploded out of my body into my room. So that is a little higher level after you really get your meditations down. There are all kinds of ways that you can, if you get to the lucid dream, which is the first step in all this, is lucid dreaming. Lucid dreaming, recording your dreams is before that. You have to, and write them down too. Write your dreams down, and don't move while you're thinking about your dreams at night, and write them down later in the morning or something. Just remember a couple of key words, and they'll all come back to you once you get good. What that does is you're building the hardwired neuroplasticity in your head to do this more easily. Um, yeah. So meditation is the most important. Everybody, you have to work at it. You have to give into this fear thing. You have to eliminate it. Like, make it approach this all as a non-dual, a duality type of thing. You have to raise above it. You have to overcome it and become your multi-dimensional person that you are, because this reality is not the only reality. And, you do this, you'll learn all about that. So I think I covered it, Dave.
That's awesome. I appreciate you breaking that down for our audience
Yeah.
as we break that down, because I know that was going to ask, there's always people, how do I do this? What am I supposed to do? You broke it down perfectly.
Oh, thanks.
When you go into that meditative state, how long does it take you to get there?
Well, there's once again, this is levels of lucidity and consciousness itself. So you are entering your mind, your inner mind, and you have to go with intention of, and I'll just throw this out there and see, who bites on this one. You have to approach it so that there's something greater than you. Okay. There are greater mysteries than that anybody knows. So you have to approach it that way. You can't approach it. A lot of people get to a certain point and they're good at astral projection, and they start to just, the finger comes back at them and they think, oh, it's just me. I'm doing all this. I'm, in control. I'm yelling out my affirmations, higher self now, higher dimension now, clarity now. I mean, those things are good to use that William Bullman talks about. There's no doubt about it. But in the end, when you're pointing at you, and you're not thinking of a higher source, that's a psychic pit. That's not good. Um, and it's a Jungian, shadow builder. So just a heads up about that. And so, what was your question again, Dave? Or
Just the entire steps towards meditation. How deep do you have to go? How long does it take to get there?
oh, well, every meditation's different too. But after you have this is a practice, the practice meditation where you use some affirmations, intentions, you move your etheric body around. I use a long breathing exercise to start, where I would use which people I have had out of the body experiences just by using breathing techniques. One technique that I use consistently. I listen to a tape by mm, Sacred Records. Anyway, it's a long, lengthy, like 38 minutes. I never get through it. I usually just fall asleep listening to it, or I disconnect. But it's you use a deep breathing, like 5-6 seconds in, as fast as you can, and you always breathe like like Zen Buddhism. You concentrate on the air passing right below your nostrils. See, this all puts you in the duality that you have to be in. I mean, the non-duality. It keeps your mind, the monkey mind. So when the breath comes in, you concentrate on it right here, 5-6 seconds, and then you exhale like up to as long as you can do it, and you go om. You can hum it, and it vibrates right through your entire soul just using that. A lot of people say that om came from like mystical places of yesteryear, of higher dimensions in the mental and spiritual realms. So it definitely clears out your, puts you in the frame of mind. Like I said, you can have an out of body, right? You just roll over after that on your side, 15 minutes. And you can then, as you fall asleep, and I always fall asleep, I can't go from breathing to it, or right from a meditation. That's a very high technique, but people, the Buddhist monks do that. They do everything, bilocate, whatever. I mean, but it's so that'll put you into the meditation. Now, a little thing about meditation, once again, I'll say it's not you. You have to think of, something greater than you. Okay. And you surrender to that something greater. I don't care what you call it. Source, unity, consciousness, it's there. And it's going to help you. And so the meditation for me, 5 minutes, I'm already like just about you start to feel tingling in your legs and your arms. So you have this physical, of course the physicality goes away. You don't feel too much, but then you might feel some tingling in your arms. I get it in my arms and in my calves after about 20 minutes and a good meditation. But I love to meditate. I mean, I'll meditate for an hour. And so like I say, you have to do it every day. You have to do this practice in the middle of the night every day. Not everybody, you have kids and the cat's jumping on you, or the dog is. So yeah. So that's about it on meditation. It is primary, though. I will say that it's definitely a primary thing you got to do.
All right, let's get to some more audience questions. We got about 4 minutes here.
Okay.
A bunch of questions here for you. Carrie is asking, have you ever heard of the silver cord associated with astral projection?
Yeah, it's a figment of your imagination. I would say the reason why maybe some people this is, once again, we're back to consciousness, Dave. Everything's consciousness, just like Ray Hernandez says. You have this thing deep in your subconscious mind that, you're leaving on this, you don't know where you're going, okay? And you want that safety cord, that rip cord all the way back to your physical body, and you can't live without it. Your subconscious mind is just, has placed it there. And so it's everything's thought driven. When you get to the higher you get, okay, in these levels, and you can tell the lower levels a little darker, maybe a little kind of, trickster beings that might show up, and that you have to, like, just, give them a kiss, throw them a kiss, ignore them. But you get those higher and higher positions in the astral, and the thoughts are much more spontaneous and quicker. In a lucid dream, it's like Disneyland in your mind, so you can do anything you want when you get good at it. But I wouldn't waste your time. I would, like, when I go into a lucid dream, a lot of times what I do is I meditate, and that's what the Tibetan yogis did with sleep yoga and such. And so the silver cord is no, there's no silver cord. There might be for you or somebody else. That's fine, and it's supposed to stretch forever. And some people say it's going to snap when you die. It's a figment of your subconscious mind, is what it is.
Well, let's go to another question here. Let's go to Paramarv. Can you use astral projection to look into the past or future, other dimensions or timelines?
Well, I had instances where I saw myself one time. You see yourself, like, as far as past lives and things like that. I've come back as a woman. I had a family and I had 2 kids, and there was, 6 and 8, and then my name was, I had a whole scenario out of my body that I was a woman. So that could have been a parallel universe. The astrophysicists, I should say quantum physicists, have already, with string theory, have said there's like 13 levels within this dimension. Okay. People like to talk about the different levels, like, the 4th and 5th are the higher parts of the astral. Then you get the 6th, 7th, 8th. You're in the mental area where you get these astral cities, and you get very creative. The higher you go, the more thought driven it is. The people that are there in these dimensions also have incredible powers themselves, and all you do too. When you'll be able to fly much faster and quicker. That's, I haven't done the manifestation there, but you can. The manifestation possibilities go up as you go up in realms. And like I said, it's probably infinite, and we'll never know. Nobody knows everything. That's why I say there's a higher power, and you have to if you go the spiritual route, you will get the furthest, the fastest, and you'll also rewire your brain the fastest. You'll have a greater perspective on your life and how to live, and you will learn how to get the most out of your life.
Dick, I want to say thank you for coming on Spaced Out Radio. What is your website?
I don't have one. I just have.
Where can people get a hold of you?
Dick Landon at yahoo.com.
Dick Landon at yahoo.com.
And
Thank you, Dick. We're going to bring you back here
all right
in just a couple of months.
Awesome.
Talk about deja vu and Mandela effect. Swamp Dweller is next to kick off hour 3 of Spaced Out Radio.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
Javier, how you doing, buddy? Good to have you here. All right, Dick, thank you very much, my friend.
Thank you. It was
Yeah,
great.
you'll hear from Dirty Filth, or AKA Kloos, very soon about getting back on in July, okay?
Okay, thank you very much, Dave.
All right, this was a lot of fun. Thank you, Dick.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Appreciate it. Dick Landon, everybody. I liked him. Great guy. Nice beard. Great guy. We're going to bring him back. We'll be right back, everybody. Let's get Timmy ready. Swampy's about 5 minutes, Tim. Cool. Yeah. Sorry I didn't get to everybody's questions tonight. I tried to. Hey, Tim. I haven't got you turned up yet. Thank you tonight to Linda, Deb, Amy, and Pam for the super chats. Greatly appreciate your love and support. Remember, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. Here we go. Here comes the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. We always appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone tuning us in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Umbriferous. Umbriferous is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's head to the swamp.
Hello and welcome to Spaced Out Radio's Swamp. I'm Swamp Dweller, and tonight I'm going to take you on a mystic journey of the unknown, sharing tales of monsters, legends, and nightmares. Welcome to the Spaced Out Radio Swamp.
I grew up in rural areas my entire life. Whether it was beef farms in Tennessee or living in the middle of nowhere, Florida, I've done it all. Growing up without access to most commonalities we've grown accustomed to. Yeah, that's right. We had no internet, no TV, and yep, you guessed it, no cell phones. I know, the horror, right? I like to think of us as the last true generation before the internet age. Not to say dial-up wasn't around, but most of us at the time didn't really have access to it. But honestly, it really wasn't that bad. I mean, outside of the long, boring summer days where we'd be cooking alive in the fields. Living out in an old Civil War cabin in the middle of nowhere, Tennessee definitely showed out some interesting experiences. This story is going to be one of many that I share. That is, if you all enjoy this one, that is. The story starts off like any other, really. It was a typical Friday night, and my brothers and I were home alone. Being that we didn't have much of anything to entertain ourselves with, we began playing manhunt in and around the house. Most of the time we opted to stay indoors as it was pitch black outside. For a bit more context, our cabin was situated on top of a rather steep hill that had a long winding driveway running down it. Our cabin had a basement level, the main level where most of the house was, and the upstairs that only had my room. We also had a back deck that was situated about 10 to 12 feet up in the air, if I had to guess. Anyway, back to the story at hand. It was pitch black outside, and going much further than our porch at night wasn't really something anyone enjoyed doing out there. The game was fun, but was already getting pretty monotonous with the little room we had inside. At this point, I had the bright idea to wander off outside and then hide on the roof to make the game more interesting. Well, this would soon be one of the biggest regrets in my life. At first, everything seemed fine. It was rather cold and it was nearing fall, and the weather was just starting to change. There was a slight breeze, and the air was really crisp and calming. After a few minutes of sitting up on the roof, though, something felt off. I had been practically mesmerized by the sound of crickets and cicadas. I realized, though, that all the noise had suddenly stopped. This seemed very odd to me, but at the same time, being as naive as I was at the time, I didn't realize that this only meant something bad was going to happen. I sit there as still as possible for a moment, trying to listen as closely as I can. I just can't seem to hear anything aside from the slight breeze through the leaves. Then as quickly as the silence came, an eruption of noise came from the other end of the roof. For a bit more detail, we had a metal roof at the time, making it very easy to hear when things walk on the roof. It sounded like something had landed on the opposite side end of the roof. I looked over, but could see nothing. This, of course, left me rather unnerved, and my first thought was to exit the situation. Before panicking fully, I remembered it could be my brothers messing with me, since surely they would have given up on looking for me by now. I opened up my window and called my brothers. They both ran up the stairs shouting and complaining that the roof was off limits. As my older brother got to me, I had asked him if he had been messing with me and making the noise on the roof. He of course denied this and wanted to come up and investigate. So he and I slowly made our way to the middle of the roof and listened for a moment. Everything went quiet around us, as it had earlier. At this point, I was already on edge and ready to karate chop a demon right in the neck if I had to. We hear what sounds like a pounding noise on the far end of the roof in the opposite direction of where we were standing. After what I think were 3 sets of 6 pounding noises, it charged us. I think it did anyway. It sounded like hooves were running on the metal roof, but the only issue was we couldn't see a thing. The entire roof was clear, aside from us, that is, but somehow we were hearing these footsteps. It quickly approached us and began running circles around us. I held my arms out to try and see if I could feel anything, but I couldn't. The weirdest part of it all, though, was that I could feel the vibrations of the footsteps all around us, but I couldn't see or feel anything in the air. These footsteps circled around us for what seemed like many minutes, but were probably no more than a minute or so at most. It suddenly stopped circling us, and we could hear the steps draw off the roof and then disappear into thin air. We quickly ran inside, locked all the windows and doors, and huddled up inside, freaked the hell out.
Thank you, Swamp Dweller, for another great story. If you want more just like that, head on over to YouTube. Type in Swamp Dweller. Hit subscribe, ring that bell. He has thousands of stories just like that. Let's get to Tim in the UFO report.
That is an interplanetary flying space saucer. You have made me very angry. Very angry indeed.
Little Timmy James back on the UFO report. My friend, it's good to see you since the weekend of weirdness, shall we say?
That's putting it very mildly, I would say. Yeah, that was a supreme Saturday night of strangeness.
Yeah. So we'll get to that because, you know, since Tim and I are on this adventure of researching Flight 21, we're now on our first show after the weekend that we have you on. We like to break everything down and see what really went on. But I want to say a big thank you. We put out video number 2.
Yes.
Called The Black Shadow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, and if you have not seen it, please, when you get a second, have a look. It is more so not a lot of static, just dead camera, but a lot of us moving around and doing stuff. And yeah, there's some strange stuff going on again. I don't know what to say. It's just, oh my God.
So let's explain this to people who haven't viewed it yet.
Absolutely.
Which can be found on our Spaced Out Radio YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
If you scroll on down, you'll see Flight 21, and then you'll see video number 2 called The Black Shadow.
Mm-hmm.
you had something strange because you're doing all the filming for the most part.
Yes.
I do literally about 4% of the filming.
Here, pass me the camera. Flip. Now you're on.
Yeah, exactly. I'm good at that.
You are. You're awesome.
I'm very good at that. Thank you. But explain what happened. We're walking down a path. Your wife Lorelei is with us.
Yes. So, for lack of a better term, I guess you could say it would be we're walking down a path, and it's at the south end of where our camp spot is, or camp spot where we're parked and staged up. So we always usually take a walk, and it's a perimeter walk that goes to the south and then I guess to the west, something like that. And we walk along that road. Well, we usually tour down there, and then we turned around and we're slowly walking back, and all through that stretch of road, everybody was getting hit with like headaches and getting zapped, and then you'd be fine. And then the next thing you know, it's like, ow, my head's killing me. So we're walking along, and I'm at the very end. There's the three of us. And just as we're coming to the turn to go back where Dave has his Jeep parked, my camera lens, or the lens on my camera of the phone, starts looking like it's staticky, like an old black and white TV set. And I was like, what's going on with that? Oh, well. And then it seemed to clear up. So I'm looking through the viewfinder, seeing everything in normal motion. But when I brought it when I put it on the computer and downloaded it to the software, at that point where my phone goes staticky, everything goes into super slow motion, and I lose all audio. So as we take the turn, we turn to our right, coming off of this path, heading back to Dave's Jeep. I'm just scanning and turning around like I'm normally filming. And at the end of the road where we enter into the Flight 21, you see a black figure kind of appear out of the trees in the distance and then fade back in. And I hadn't noticed it before, but thank God that it went into slow motion, because
maybe that's why it happened.
Could be.
Was to catch that figure.
Yeah.
I mean, it is so strange, because literally it looks like it is coming out of the trees to look at us, and then it disappears back into the tree.
Yes.
And one of the things that Tim and I are going to be doing is after what happened this past weekend, and we'll get to that momentarily, we actually do plan on taking a week off. We need a mental break after some of the stuff that kind of happened in that on Sunday. It was creepy, not gonna lie.
Nope.
It was creepy. And when you don't feel like you're the bad guy on the block.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess that's probably one of the best ways that I could say that. When you don't feel like you're one of the bad guys on the block, that's where you get a little bit creeped out.
A little bit.
Right?
Yeah.
So what I'm doing, our radio audience can't see this, but our YouTube audience can.
Oh, perfect.
I'm putting the video up of what happened in the slow motion, because there is no reason for, and I look really fat in this video.
I think it was
okay.
There it comes.
So here it comes on our video.
Right
so
here.
We're walking around a turn, like Tim said.
Boom.
And then the camera just starts to go a little staticky.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Camera goes a little bit staticky and goes into slow motion.
Yeah, for no reason at all. Like I didn't touch anything or any of that. The way that I'm holding the camera, it's impossible.
So one of the things that I'm trying to figure out here, okay, is why all of a sudden would you turn to look behind you? Was that just a look, or was that just something out of the blue?
That was just something out of the blue. I had no feeling, no inkling, no anything. I was just filming and seeing what was behind us. Now, yeah, right up in here.
And the funny part about it is, this is the weird part, and I was laughing at this on the video.
Right.
Because realistically, that turnoff is maybe 25, 30 feet from where we are. Yet on the video, it looks like it's like 40, 50 yards away.
Yes, it does, for sure.
It is so weird that it projects so differently.
Yeah, agreed.
You know, like you can walk that from where we turned on the video to that spot. You can walk that in maybe 20 seconds.
Yeah, if that.
If that.
Yeah.
Okay. So here we are. We're looking down this path, or the camera is looking down this path. And all of a sudden, out of the trees, this black image comes out of the trees, looks at us, and then goes back in.
Yeah.
I don't know how or what that is.
No.
But literally, you see it move, come out of the trees.
Oh, yeah.
And the weird part about it is, in my estimation, it's shaped like a Sasquatch.
That's what I thought, but I wasn't going to say anything or put any thoughts out there.
I want people to go look at the video and tell us what you see, because here's one of the things that we do want to say about this little incident here.
Yes.
Tim and I, when we go back in 2 weeks, we will be going to look at that place. We're going to measure that area. We are going to make sure that we have any sort of research. That's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah, there it is.
Like, as amateur researchers, we need to be able to know, is that something that we can recreate? Because that happened at about 9:06 p.m. Pacific time.
Yeah, just about bang on. Yep.
And we're going to wait for that light, that time of the night, for that light to kind of be back there. We're going to see if we can recreate it. Was it a play on the lens?
Sure.
Was it a play on the lighting? Because it is natural lighting.
Yep.
Was it something else? We're going to measure how tall that was, because we do want to break it down. We don't want to sit there like other television shows and say, "Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
Look at that. Look what we caught. We caught Big Mama."
Yeah.
Carrying her baby. And in the meantime, it's a blob squatch right now.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's a blob.
It's a blob. We have no idea what it is or if it's anything at all, really, right?
So it is anomalous. We are going to go look at it again. So I'm a little weirded out by it. I'm not going to lie. I've made this as large as I possibly can in my viewpoint, and I can't figure out whether it's a shadow, whether it's your angle, or what have you. But you're right; it just does seem to appear out of nowhere and then disappear back in.
Yeah, and by no means, I mean, like Dave's saying, we're not trying to force feed anybody anything at all. And if it turns out to be something anomalous, cool. If not, okay, well then we found out that it's not, and we can move forward. So that's what it's all about. That's why we're there too, right? We're not there just to make things up and pull the wool over everybody's eyes. This is what we're doing, and it's going to be 100% legit all the way through, right?
And look, let's be honest. We're going to make mistakes.
Oh yeah,
we are 100%. We're not professionals. We are going to make mistakes. And we're going to maybe accidentally call things that are not really what they are, but it's our intent to try and be, to debunk ourselves.
Absolutely.
And what we see. And you know what? If it is wrong, we'll report on that.
No question. Yeah, we got nothing to hide and nothing to gain, except finding out what they're researching. But yeah, there's...
Okay, let's go back to this past Saturday.
Okay.
For the first 2.5 hours we were there, it was completely peaceful. The birds were not flying anywhere in the area. The squirrels and the chipmunks were way off in the distance.
Yep.
And as it started to get a little bit darker, I think the thing that scared me the most was the fact that the squirrels and
Yes.
the chipmunks kept getting closer and closer. It was literally to the point, and I know you got it on video.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? It was literally to the point where you could hear the squirrels moving closer by their sounds.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden we were surrounded by squirrels and chipmunks. Now, for people who don't understand the significance of this, okay, number one, this area is usually silent.
Totally.
Okay? But number two, if you're not an outdoors person, the squirrel and the chipmunk are the forest's natural alarm, security alarm.
Absolutely, for sure.
And when they start going off, there are things around. So Tim and I didn't really leave this one area for a long time. Okay? And then all of a sudden, these squirrels kept, like, if you imagine a cul-de-sac,
Yeah.
that's what we're sitting in, is a mini cul-de-sac that's big enough for one vehicle.
Right.
Okay? And all of a sudden, we're surrounded by trees, and the squirrels just kept coming closer and closer and closer to the point where they were literally on the trails.
Yeah, it was nuts. And it was funny because I didn't really pay much attention to it at first. But yeah, it was, I described it as a dragnet. It was like, you just keep creeping in and creeping in and creeping in. And yeah, it was like, we're getting ganged up on. It was very strange. Very, very strange.
But you also saw some strange things.
Oh.
Let's talk about the one, before we get to the double being, let's go back to the one being where we were walking down the coming back towards the Jeep. You looked to your left.
Yes.
And you saw
what appeared to be a alien. And yeah, I'm 100% going to be straight up with everybody right now. My brain is still scrambled up from this. I mean, we're just scratching the surface on some of this stuff, but there was a lot of stuff that happened on Saturday night. So yeah, I think that was the first thing was an alien on the left-hand side when we were walking up the trail.
Now, why do you call it an alien?
Because it first of all, I felt a different energy. It didn't feel like what was normally going on when we've had encounters or, we've heard noises or thumps or bangs. It was a completely different energy. And then the way that I looked at it, it didn't look like it was walking. It looked almost like it was about maybe 2-3 inches off the ground and kind of like, I guess, floating. But it was there, it moved, and it was gone. And I was like, what the beep was that? And yeah, it was, and then everything just broke loose after that. I'm still trying to process it 100%. I'll have to go through the films.
Okay, so with the energy and everything, what did it look like? Because you didn't catch it on camera.
No.
At this point,
Nope.
You had the camera off.
Yeah.
Because, and remember when we first started, I said, and I'm going to throw you under the bus here
Go
for
ahead.
a second.
Yeah.
I said, this is why we got to keep filming, because the minute the camera goes off,
Yeah, things happen.
that's where things are happening.
Mm-hmm.
So what did it look like?
It looked like it was very, very thin. The head looked, I'm just going to sound stereotypical. It almost looked oval, like oversized for a very, very skinny body, and it wasn't very tall. I would say probably, just guessing, I would say maybe 5 feet tall, maybe, if that. Didn't see any eyes, didn't see any distinguishing. I just saw what appeared to be that shape. Skinny with a big wobbly head.
And once again, it was a fleeting second.
Yeah, I would probably safely say a couple of seconds, but yes.
And it disappeared into the trees?
Yep.
I didn't see it. I was ahead of you.
I know. You heard me go, what? Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then everything else went crazy from there.
Well, we're going to get to the second part of this, and then, of course, there will be a UFO report coming up on Spaced Out Radio. Little Timmy James coming at you right here on Spaced Out Radio.
This is Spaced Out Radio, and your host, Dave Scott.
I'm telling you, you're getting all the good stuff right now. You can't turn your camera off.
Oh, no.
Because this is 2 weeks in a row.
That's the one that I missed. Everything else, I'm 99% sure I got from this Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which reminds me, I want to see something. Let's go back. Where is the... Give me 2 seconds here. That's where we went in. And then, of course, another commercial. Oh, Who's the idiot who puts the commercials in on these?
It's the YouTube commercial people.
You see what I mean on YouTube? How it looks like crunched in?
Yeah.
I guess you can't see that. I'm trying to find the one part.
What I'm going to do next time, on the next time we go up, is besides carrying my camera, I'm going to put the head strap on my
GoPro.
Yeah, and wear it on my hat. And then we'll put the DLSR as the static.
Where is the Sasquatch sound? Hold on. I want to record this.
Mm-hmm.
Where are you? The coloring was sure good on it, though.
Yeah.
We need a gimbal.
Yes.
I'm going to buy a gimbal here next week.
And the lapel mics are in tomorrow.
Just so you know, we are getting lapel mics. Okay, where do I go in? Okay, Dave, go in already. Okay, there it is.
You got her?
There it is. Hold on. Let me see if I got this here. Cut that out. So, let me just turn my sound up.
Mm-hmm.
How much time do we have? We got...
2.5 minutes.
Yeah. Okay, so that's... That was a voice. That was a voice. That was a voice. That was a voice. I'm going to boost this.
Mm-hmm.
400. Give me 2 seconds here, guys. If I have time, how much time do I have? I got a minute 40.
Yep.
That's me moving.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on, gosh darn it, I think I did the wrong one. Let's cut this. Let's just go back here quickly.
Yep. Did you get it?
It's literally, where is it on there?
It's right before you say that. You hear me go, and then stop breathing.
Okay.
And it should be that, right between that and where you say there's a voice. And it's faint.
Okay, we'll have to worry about that after the show. Mm-hmm. All right, big thank you to Pam, Amy, Deborah Rooney ×2, Linda, and Tim for the super chats. Greatly appreciate the love and support. Hi, Sherry, Diane. How are you? And let's see here. Here we go. Like 7 seconds. All right, here comes the final half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We greatly appreciate you tuning us on in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. All right, little Timmy James is here with the Flight 21 report, the UFO report, lots of reports on everything. And, of course, we'll get to everything here momentarily. But first, we want to remind all of you that if you missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. We have Tim James here hanging on out. Little Timmy James, how you doing?
I'm doing well.
All right. We had a coin returned.
Yeah, that was very cool.
So, a year ago, we traded a staff that was left at a tree. We traded it for a Canadian dollar coin called the loonie. And the loonie, a year later, was gone. And we traded that, and in replace of that was a dime, which we replaced for a quarter, but the quarter has now disappeared, which, according to Robin Haynes in her reading, she felt that a young boy took the coin.
Yeah.
Okay, not a big deal.
No.
We've got marbles there. The marbles did not move. But this past Saturday, we walk up one of the trails that we have been walking up, and right in the middle of that trail is the dollar coin. Sitting there. It looked like it had been compressed. It didn't look like it was stepped on.
Nope.
It looked like it had been compressed into the dirt.
Yep.
And I just had this feeling. I was behind the camera, and I just had this feeling to go up that trail.
Yes.
And I walk up that trail, and it was my first time up that trail that day. And I stepped over the log, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
That's exactly what he said.
And so Tim runs up with the camera, and lo and behold, it's the exact same dollar coin that we filmed and traded last year. Now, we talked to Robin Haynes after the show, or after we got out of the forest.
Yes.
And she basically said, they left it for you there, but you weren't supposed to take it.
Oops.
And yet we got it. So we have to we have to move it back.
Yeah, we do.
On that. But that was weird, man.
That is well, first of all, yes, you're right. I think there was a lot of weirdness with that. Simply because we had, when the quarter was gone, and David said, well, let's wander around and have a look and see if they've, if we're playing a little bit of a game and they're leaving stuff for us, in the tree or on the. So the three of us, myself, my wife, and Dave, we all toured around the trail. Now, this trail that Dave was on is a main trail to where the tree is, where we've got this little gifting site. And we walked up and down that trail, looking at the ground, looking for stuff. I would say safely half a dozen times when the three of us were up there. Nothing. And you're not going to believe this. And as soon as I got up there and I had the camera and I looked, he goes, can you see anything? Dead smack dab in the center of the trail. It was mind blowing.
Yeah, I don't understand. And the thing is, I know you're going to go through previous footage to see if it was there.
Oh,
prior.
yeah.
Because once again, we want to see him if there was anything done to it.
Yeah. And just as a cheater, I've already done some of that. And one of the clips of us walking along there, you see the trail. But in all fairness, I don't see the loony on the trail. But then again, the camera's not pointing directly down.
No, but we would have seen it with our eyes.
I think so.
If we're walking that trail, because it was so clear.
True.
It was so clear in the sight of everything that there was no way that we would have missed it.
Yes, I would think that would be very, very highly doubtful that we would have missed it.
Right? Mm-hmm. So then...
Okay, where are we going next?
Then, right as it started to get dark...
and the squirrels were approaching.
Let's go back to the squirrels for a second, because I'm still tripped out about them damn squirrels. Okay, the squirrels are approaching, and you look down the trail towards the crash site.
Yes.
And what do you see?
I'm standing there, and I'm filming, and I look down that trail towards the crash site, and to my right of the trail, I see a black figure standing. How far in? Approximately, maybe 15 feet.
If that.
Yeah. Standing just off the trail, on the edge of the trail. I look at it. It stands there, and then it moves off to the side. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I said, Dave. So Dave comes over. What'd you see? So I told Dave. Then, I guess I'm just trying to get it right. So then the second time I saw it, it was a couple of minutes later, I turned around. I said, there it is again. But the second one went the opposite way on the trail and climbed up a tree. I kid you not. And then I was like, holy blah, 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 expletive. So I was standing there and I'm filming, and I got close up, and all of a sudden, and you'll see it in the film when we put it out, there is a black smoke mist shadow that goes underneath a branch and then comes back up. So it goes from left to right and then straight up. And then it sits in this little nook in the tree, and you can see it moving and pulsing. And I have that on, and I said to David, come over. So he says, what are you seeing? And you look in the camera, and you can actually see this black thing moving around the branches of the trees. And yeah, it was like, oh my, okay. Then it got weirder.
Yeah, then all of a sudden, the squirrels picked up again.
Like crazy.
And they were closer than ever. Mm-hmm. And the thing that I don't understand, like we were talking to Robin Haynes about it, she felt that, and this will be on tape too.
Yep.
Because we recorded a phone call with her. She actually felt that the squirrels were being pushed in.
Yes.
To surround us by the Sasquatch.
Yep.
And then and they kept getting louder and louder and closer, to the point where it was like, what is going on here? Like, this is getting scary.
It was, yes.
And all of a sudden, this immense fear came over Tim and myself at the exact same time.
Yep.
And we're like, we need to go.
Yep.
We need to go. We packed up as quickly. And, you try and give yourself time. So you kind of say to them, hey, guys, we got the signal.
Exactly.
We're going to pack up now. Thank you for letting us have this time here. But it was just before it got dark.
Yep.
Because right now, I mean, you could go outside right now, okay, and there is still a shade of daylight to the northwest.
Yeah.
A shade of daylight right now at this time.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's where it gets a little bit eerie.
Yeah, I mean, and we're not going to give away the whole video. We're just kind of giving you away. There's more in there, but I think the thing that freaked me out at the end, and was when Dave was talking to Robin, is she goes, "Did you see the two guys and the two little ones and the one go up the tree?" Like, we hadn't even spoke to her, and she was remote viewing us. Dave and I are both looking at each other like, "Are you flipping kidding me? Like, we haven't even told you what's happened to us yet." She's telling us what's happened to us before we told her what had happened to us.
Yeah, and you know what? That's a good point that you bring up, because, You know, a lot of times when you get into the woo, like Robin, okay, and you bring them on air, you get a lot of people who will criticize, why do you have this person on? She's crazy. She's a nut bar. She's this, she's that. She called about 3 or 4 things before we even talked about them.
Yep. Bang on.
Bang on. We did, though, I will say this before we get to the abbreviated UFO report.
Yeah.
We did take a hitchhiker out of there.
Oh, that was brutal.
Yeah. So for, excuse me.
Yep.
So for people wondering what a hitchhiker is, that's when a spirit attaches itself to you and literally you could feel it all over your body. I'm having the dry heaves on the way back. Yeah. You're feeling ill.
I'm feeling terrible. Yeah. My head, it was, and at one point I said to Dave, and it was weird because Dave and I were both doing the same thing at the same time. I'm like, I was just going to say, no, it's still here. Dave looks at me and goes, no, it's still attached. And for that whole ride out, just about, we were in connection with our thoughts. It was really weird. And at one point it got so intense for me that I could see the face. That's what I said to Dave. I can see the face. He goes, it's time for you to tell him to let go. I was like, yeah, it was. Blah.
So we got Robin to release it. It was like, and then when she released it, you caught something on camera.
Yes. So she cleared Dave and I, and then Dave asked if she'd clear the Jeep. So she cleared the Jeep, and once she said she goes, I'm going to clear the Jeep. I'm just standing and I'm filming the conversation, and you can see the Jeep, and the Jeep looked like somebody bounced on the rear bumper. Boom. And I was like, so I'm going to review that footage and make sure we got that as well.
Yeah. It was a scary night.
Mm-hmm.
And Tim and I, honestly, after that night, it's kind of intimidating to think that we may go out there again, just him and I. Like, we're honestly thinking maybe we got to bring a couple more people just for safety.
I'm looking forward to it. Don't get me wrong, but
Oh, me too. Me too, because apparently I want to be Bigfoot bait.
Yeah, me too.
Right? and alien bait.
Absolutely.
Right?
That's what we're there for.
All right, let's get to the UFO report.
Okay.
Finally, there was a strange article in the Washington or Wall Street Journal, and then it kind of led to a piece in the New York Post.
Yeah.
What's going on?
So what happened is the Pentagon's, it was in the Wall Street Journal, and it's titled "The Pentagon Disinformation That Fueled America's UFO Mythology." So in a recent Wall Street Journal post, which was earlier last week, it was revealed a decade-long effort by the U.S. military to propagate false narratives about UFOs to conceal classified weapons programs. So this is basically what this Pentagon was doing, is what they're saying. So the report published early last week details how the Pentagon deliberately fabricated evidence of alien technology, allowing rumors to spread as a smokescreen for secret projects, particularly during the Cold War era. The investigation, conducted by journalists Joel Sheckman and Aruna Viswantha, uncovers a striking example for the 1980s involving Area 51, the secretive Nevada military base. An Air Force colonel visited a local bar near the facility and provided the owner with doctored photos of supposed flying saucers. These images, displayed publicly, fueled local lore and public belief that the U.S. was testing recovered alien technology. In 2023, the now retired colonel admitted to Pentagon investigators that the photos were part of a deliberate disinformation campaign to obscure the development of top secret stealth fighters seen as critical advantage against the Soviet Union. So the Wall Street Journal's findings stem from a congressionally mandated probe led by the Pentagon's AARO, established obviously in 2022 to investigate UFOs, now referred to as UAPs. Under the leadership of physicist Sean Kirkpatrick, AARO reviewed government records dating back to 1945, interviewed numerous current and former officials, scientists, and military contractors. The investigation revealed that the Pentagon's disinformation efforts began as early as the 50s, with false documents and stories used to protect classified programs. In some cases, military officers were shown fake images of anti-gravity vehicles as part of a bizarre hazing ritual, leading some to believe in fictitious alien technology programs. The report also highlights how the Pentagon's 2024 UAP report omitted key details about these disinformation campaigns, partly to protect classified secrets and avoid embarrassing the Air Force. The lack of transparency has fueled further conspiracy theories, with some Republican members of Congress forming a caucus to demand greater disclosure about alleged UAP crash retrieval programs. The investigation uncovered Cold War-era incidents such as the 1967 Malmstrom Air Force Base event, where nuclear missile systems were disabled, which some former personnel attribute to UFOs, but the Pentagon now claims resulted in electromagnetic pulse tests. Critics argue that the Pentagon's secrecy and disinformation have created a cycle of mistrust, blurring the lines between genuine phenomenon and manufactured myths, while Arrow's findings suggest that many UAP sightings were misidentified drones, satellites, natural phenomenon, and the deliberate propagation of UFO myths has led a lasting impact on the public perception. The Pentagon plans to release a follow-up report later this year, allegedly, to address these findings, but skepticism persists about whether full transparency will be achieved. So, not surprising to me, but surprising, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, this one here, a lot of people in the UFO world, or pardon me, the UAP world, because there is a difference, are saying that this is a witch hunt.
Yes.
To kill ufology, to get it under the rug. Hello, we have been saying this for the better part of 2 to 3 years now.
What?
Yeah.
Holy.
Yeah. And I think it's absolutely amazing that people are saying, well, we need to trust the whistleblowers. We need to do this. We need to do that. They're not whistleblowers.
They're witnesses.
They're witnesses.
That's right.
Okay? Whistleblowers give you information. They don't say in a skiff and then get skiff flu. Right? No, but that's the truth of it all.
You're right.
But I also do agree to a point that Arrow has been a member of the disinformation campaign.
Oh, no question.
Okay, now there's a lot of skeptics who will say, no, they're telling the truth. They're telling the truth. Really? Really? We already caught Sean Kirkpatrick back in the day lying.
Oh.
And that's with the photo of Brandon Fugel. Okay, why aren't we bringing that up? I think Arrow's job, which is not about transparency, it's about cover-up.
Yes.
Okay, I think they do need to be disbanded.
Yes.
I don't agree with the idea that the FBI should take over.
No.
Like I said last week, I think an independent board needs to be brought together on this. I really do.
That makes total sense. People that are interested in the science and the actual event, not trying to cover it, not trying to make excuses, not working for anybody that's telling them what to do. But yeah, you're right. I think that's exactly what needs to happen. And I think with an independent review board, I would suggest that they are true to themselves. They don't have to be, under some sort of guideline. I mean, obviously there's some stuff that I'm sure that they may want to hide, but yeah, I like the independent thing a lot better.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see what plays out of that. We got 2.5 minutes.
2.5 minutes.
What do you got for us?
Well, not a heck of a lot that I can do in 2.5 minutes, but I can give you Cole's notes on a true story reported at the Roswell Daily Record. So another one of these New Mexico truck drivers, his name was Earl, was driving into New Mexico and close to Roswell, and had pulled into a gas station for a coffee. And when he pulled into the gas station for a coffee, it was one of those ones, one pump sort of thing, and when the neon that's flickering. So he pulled over, and as he was getting out, he thought this huge light lit up the whole area around him, and he thought, well, too much Red Bull, right? And these two aliens came out of a spaceship, he says, and they just stood there and looked at him. So he reached in the dashboard of his truck and threw some beef jerky at him. So they came over and gave him a piece of quartz. So he rolled into this pub afterwards. They took off and disappeared and everything. So he rolls back into this pub, sits down with a bunch of people that he knows and says, I got this special rock. And they're all going, well, it's a polished piece of quartz. So the pub owner and everybody had a look at it, and they knew Earl and whatever. It was all good. So they were like, oh, sure, Earl, you've been driving way too much caffeine and stuff. So to this day, he still has it, and he will show it on request at this bar that he goes to, but he's got it mounted on the dashboard of his truck. It's almost like the guy that had the chicken wing spice or whatever it was. Same thing. But yeah, he's got that. And they named a burger after it, and it was called the Shiny Quartz, the Shiny Quartz and Beef Jerky Platter Combo for Earl. And they sell it, and it's been there since 2004.
Why just hearing that does my mouth start to water?
I know, right?
Oh, my goodness.
Because it's that time of night and it's getting snackety time.
Yeah, it is snackety time, and I don't like that. But I'm going to snack afterwards.
Me too.
Yeah. I don't know why. I've been on a potato chip kick lately.
Ooh, I've been on an ice cream kick lately. Yeah, I just like ice cream for some reason.
Oh, love a good ice cream. What ice cream are you eating? Right?
Kit Kat.
Oh, that's good. Rolo is fantastic.
I love it.
Yeah, what is your favorite ice cream? Let us know on X at Spaced Out Radio. What is your favorite ice cream? Yeah.
Let me think.
There is something really good. You still have to try Shark Attack.
Yes, I still haven't done that.
Because
right.
I'll tell you right now, if I have a bucket upstairs, which I don't, but if I have a bucket in my house, you ain't having any. That's my bucket. That's my bucket. Nobody gets any of the Shark Attack except me. Hey, you got to have some rules around your home.
That's right.
It's your castle. Don't touch my ice cream.
I wear the pants in this house until I'm done with their laundry.
Yeah, I know that feeling. All right, little Timmy James, thank you very much for a good, great UFO report. Can't wait to do it all again, my friend. As we say goodnight to little Timmy James. And hello to Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal, rocking in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAP, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, Space Travelers Club, and on X, hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends,
we're watching.
We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo Train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night, everybody. All right, everybody. I want to say a big thank you to each and every one of you coming out tonight. I hate to cut this short, but Tim's got to get going. I got to get going because I'm tired too. And I got to hurry up here. So my eyes,
they're falling out.
They're falling out right now. But tomorrow night on the show, Ryan S. Wood will join us to talk about crash retrievals.
Ooh.
Crash retrievals tomorrow night. Thank you to Deb ×2, Linda, Tim, Pam, and Amy for the great super chats. We greatly appreciate your love and support, and we will see you all tomorrow night, everybody. Much love, and take care. See you tomorrow.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.